It's a snowy day at the end of April here in Western Michigan on the farm, and it's a perfect day to butcher some meat chickens. Let me show you how we do it here at the farm. The first step in butchering meat chickens to make sure that the ultimate outcome is the tastiest, most unbelievable chicken you ever had is to start with the time-consuming thing first, which is filling up the pot of water, getting that started, and bringing it up to a minimum of 160 degrees. Now, this is probably the longest part of this process, but it gives us time to get set up. Always get that going first and then start setting things up. All right, remember, you do not want to fill it all the way up to the top. You'll get wet doing this too, and if it's cold like this, it's perfect for butchering. Not so great for the hands. We'll get those covered up. So the next thing to think about, because we start by warming up the water, that gives us some time to abort the mission if we have to. By that I mean, maybe you start getting things going, and I've done this in the past. A mistake is to get the chickens, get them taken out, then get things set up. That's a way for they can spoil. Or what if something happens, you're out of propane, you know, the plucker doesn't work, your phone rings, something like that. So this is the period of time that you get everything lined up, make sure it's set. Do not take out any birds until you absolutely have to. And we'll get to that in a bit. Right now it looks like we have everything lining up. Our next step is to fill up this cooler with water. And I'll tell you, we're gonna take this cooler, almost full, dump some out when it's time to put ice in. But this first step, we just want ice, and we'll toss some snow in there because it snowed last night. Make sure that snow is clean. No bugs, no snow, fleas, whatever it is. Put it in there because we just want to draw the heat out of the chicken carcass. Here's something else that I learned along the way. We always want to make sure that the chickens that we butcher end up being perfect and healthy and not tainted in taste or spoilage. One time, butchered 15 chickens, I believe it was, a lot of chickens. I laid them in a cooler, all on top of each other. I thought they were adequately cooled down. This is before we learned about ice baths. And just the body heat and the heat from this 160 degree water, with those laying together with the lid closed or in a bag on the counter, hopefully you don't do that, some people do, that will spoil the meat. And you won't know it until you get ready to package them and put them in the freezer. They'll smell weird. Or it might make it past the smell test when you freeze them. When you put them in the oven, I guarantee you, within the first 15 minutes of that bird being in the oven, you will smell that that chicken is bad, and don't eat it. It happens because they spoil from their own body heat. That's why we're gonna put them in a water bath first. Some people just keep that water moving continuously, and we would if it's warm out. Right now it's cold enough out. We can cool them down, then we can really butcher them, and then we put them back in and ice them up for at least a day. Got to get that temperature out of there for the really good end product, the good chicken. Show you the other setup. Got to have a nice clean table. Got my bag of ice. I'll show you when to put that in. Some preferred knives. A thermometer for the water, which is still on its way. It's almost time to catch a chicken, but a few more setup things to do. Check it out. Snowing. It's good for chickens. Let's do it. I don't know if you've followed me very long, you'd know that I made one of these pluckers before. See that? You can make it out of old washing machine tub and fingers, and that got us by, but I'm not the greatest at the science of it, like pulley size and everything. So the first one that I did, I put in there and it went flying through the air. It was so fast, it just destroyed the chicken. So we were so happy when we were eventually able to afford a plucker like that. Boy, we do what we gotta do, right guys? Every time. Okay, started seeing it steam. You want to check it with the thermometer. We're at about 144. Let's get some chickens. Anybody knows that trying to catch a chicken can be difficult. Now these chickens are hungry because you let them go a day without eating just to clean them out. So the first couple are easy until they figure out what you're doing, and then I might have to get a fishing net. But first, let's see if we can get one. Hi. How's it going? And you grab them, but they're going to do this for a minute. Don't let them hurt themselves or break their wings, and they'll settle down. Hold them upside down like this. See, the breast is up, and then they'll settle down. They lose their power. Let's get another one. Do not. They can break their wings. You don't want to do it. So remember, hold them breast side up. They'll settle down, and bring them to your cones. All right, so we want to put these breasts away from us, like this. And like this. Then you can grab their heads underneath. Very specific where you cut them. I won't show that. Get their head out. What you want is right along the side of the neck. Make sure it's bleeding good. You don't want to go through the windpipe because then they'll suffocate before they bleed out. All right, so we have a bit of a problem. One of these chickens got out. It's never been out before. I don't like this when it happens because you don't want to get hurt doing this. And I tend to be the middle linebacker that I was in football and go through anything in my way to get a chicken. But we don't want it to be all riled up now, so I might let it go, but if I can find it, I'm gonna see if I can catch it. Maybe it's right over here by the coop. Yeah, see it? It's right over there. Now, here we go. Let's go get it. Turn them and they settle down. Don't hurt yourself getting your protein. No match for the bear. All right, back in the day they'd use an axe to take the head off. But see, when you hold them upside down, right alongside, and I won't show this, how you doing? There's, just like in humans, there's major arteries and veins going up to the brain. That's what you want to cut to bleed the bird out. Keep the heart pumping, don't cut the windpipe or it will suffocate before it pumps all the blood out. Sometimes there's no way to, miss the windpipe, and that's okay. But we try to make sure we get as many as possible with no windpipe just to bleed out, because that works towards the taste and the finished product. All right, let's get this thing over there. As you can see, without being too graphic, the cones work really well. Help them drain themselves out. All right, so we want to hose these off, hose the feet off, hose the rear ends off. Just helps everything get clean. Get off what you can. So I'm going to check the water temp with meat thermometer. It's a quick read. You can put it in there. Just under 170, 165 is what I like. If you go over 170, when you put the birds in the plucker, the skin will rip. We don't want that. So usually we'll do 2 birds. Dunk 1. Okay, do it for a while again. Make sure that water temperature is about 165 and you'll be happy. If it's below, you'll be plucking for a long time. If it's above, your finished product will have a chicken with ripped and overcooked skin. So I'm going to do this for a little bit. They say one of the hacks is to check a wing feather. See when they come out? That guy's done. Do one more. Then we'll put them in the plucker. Then we'll recheck our temperature, because when you put the birds in, it cools the water down. But I like to do 2 at a time. You can do whatever you want. For me, after all these years, I like a little break in between, so I do these things in steps, especially if it's cold with no flies out like today. Let's check that hack. Nope. Yep. Okay. Let's do it over here in the plucker. I don't like to put the bird in until after we start it. You don't want to do it too long. Check that out. Just a few to pull on the table. So, coming out of the plucker, there's a few feathers that are left. Just get those off of there. Make sure there's no pins, because I want to make sure that when this thing is served, people go, wow. It's all about that presentation too. So we just kind of flip it around, get those few feathers out, because there's always going to be a few left coming out of the plucker. And if you don't have a plucker, that's okay too. I've plucked many chickens by hand. You can do that. Just make sure you pace yourself. Don't take out 20. Do a few at a time and you'll be okay. So now, with that done, we want to hit her with the hose. Not on jet, on shower. Get it cleaned up. Have a look at it. Look at that. That's a nice looking chicken, don't you think? We don't do the neck because we take that off. Great looking chicken. And now we're gonna put it in the water. Do not gut it yet. Just put it in the water like this. So you see, we put them in the cooler, breast side down. Get that heat out of there. Let that water pull the heat out. Plus it also lets them get a little cleaner. Hey, you know that rooster that chases you around the yard when you go to check the mail? Look at this scrawny looking thing. This is the rooster. Not afraid of that thing. Come on, man, just look out for the spurs. This is not really an eating bird. This is more of a broth or soup bird. But we're gonna use it. Let's put it in the cooler. So that's all of them. Now, we bought ourselves a little bit of time, and I'm gonna clean stuff up and just take a little break from the birds. That's another trick. Don't wear yourself out. Now is a good time to clean things up. These things are doing nothing but cooling down. That's what we want. We'll get to the rest of them just a second. All right, let me take you through this. We have a bird that came out of that water bath. Now I'm gonna take the insides out, the crop. There's a special order that I do this in. I've talked to Stephanie, my wife, and the chef here at the farm as far as what she's looking for in a finished product. Now, they may be served a certain way. If you want to stuff them, then you gotta do a little bit differently, but I'm gonna do this just kind of generally. You know, if we were to sell one to a restaurant, they may say, hey, we need an extra flap here or there, but I'm gonna show you how we do it for us eating it here, which is pretty quick. Heads have already been removed. The very first thing that I do is right here in the front is the crop. They still have a little food in them, so when I cut this skin, I'm cutting it just in front of the crop, doing it a little backward just so you can see it on the camera. Put that down there. You can see right in here, see that? That is the crop, and we can get it out of there with the knife without cutting the meat behind it. Sometimes you'd leave a little more skin on here if you wanted to stuff the front side of the bird. So we pull that out of there, and then we just cut it off, and we put it down there because we don't use it. Then I cut the neck off at this point. Set that aside, move on to the feet. Right there, you can see there's a knuckle. That's what you're looking for, the knuckle. Same thing here. Just down, the knuckle. There's gonna be a feather or two here and there. We're gonna keep the feet, so we set that over in our keep pile. Now, we got this thing. We don't want to go too deep when we come through the back side of this thing. Just gently. We don't want to go into the intestines. I want to cut it just above this tail. Some people will leave this tail on. I don't. On the back side there's a gland that you have to cut out if you keep it. For me, I like this shortcut right here. Hopefully you can see it. We go right around the rear end hole, cut that tail right out of there, go underneath it, boom, reach inside. Look away if you get grossed out. And I just pull that stuff out. I save some of the stuff in here, liver for the cats, do that in a minute. And you reach in here, you pull out a few things. You will get a heart, and then the lungs are left inside the rib cage, and you just gotta feel for them, take them out, toss them down there, because you're not gonna eat that. Chicken lungs, pickled chicken lungs. Now, maybe if we're starving. Clean it up a little bit, hit it with the hose. I put the heart in it after we dump it out. Put the heart in it, the neck in it, save the feet. Put that into the water. All right, next, we want to dump a good amount of this water out. Easiest to just go like this because it's very heavy. Use the lid to keep the chickens from coming out. Little more. You don't have to get all of it out. A good amount. Now, make sure all these chickens are upright. This. Now, put fresh water back in before you put the ice in it. And then we put the ice in. Remember, you could put the ice on top because that cold liquid drops, it doesn't rise. So you don't have to mix the ice around. You just lay it on the top and that cold just settles down. Yes, usually one 20-pound bag of ice will do it. And when it's cold out, you might have to have two if it's summertime. Get that ice in there nice and loose. Ice them things down. The colder they get, the better they are. Now they do not have a chance to spoil. Wear gloves if you're... I don't have much feeling in my hands, so I don't feel this cold, but I should be wearing gloves. There! Get a little more water in there. And save this bag for the guts and the insides. Works perfect. I just put this stuff right in there and throw them in the dumpster. A little more water. All right, make sure that those chickens are covered. You got ice on them. Now, close the lid. Make sure it closes. Minimum 24 hours in this ice. If your cooler holds the ice longer, you can keep them in here 2 days, maybe 3, but if you can, at least 24 hours in the ice before you package them and then put them in the freezer. This is that settle down period. If you do things too quickly, the bird will be really tough. If you do it this way, best birds you ever had. You're gonna get wet doing this, just the way that it goes. That's why I wear bibs and some other stuff. Just hose yourself down. Don't get yourself ill. So we're gonna finish cleaning up here. Minimum 24 hours in the ice. We'll probably go 2 days with these. Get them really, really, really cold. If you don't do that, then the bird's tough or it could spoil. We learned, put them in the ice bath. If you got a cooler that lasts long enough with ice, usually 2 days is awesome for that bird. So we'll let them set. We'll show you how we package them. And that's it. Good luck to you. In the comment section, let me know how you're doing. If you're doing them by yourself, what methods you use. Maybe we can all learn something here on the learning curve. But after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of chickens and screwing up along the way, that's what I've learned. And I'm glad that you got to watch this. So like this video, share it. Let's get this information out there for all those people that got themselves in, maybe over their head, with raising meat chickens. It's not that bad. Just don't do them all at the same time. Little lots, little increments. That's it. Have you no idea what's in the cooler? See how that ice did. See, that's been sitting in that ice bath now. And those chickens are super ice cold. Put the chickens, once they come out of the ice bath, with the cavity side down, just so they can drain any additional water out of it that might be in there.
This is a 1 gallon food saver bag. We had been using the zip tie, put it in a hot pot of water, but most often we can fit our chickens in the gallon bag, and I preferred that. I will have to wipe the excess moisture off before I vacuum seal it. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to see how we do. And since it's really vacuum sealed now, as it starts to suck up some of that liquid, I just hit seal. That way we still don't get any ice buildup, and it still has a nice seal. 5 pounds, 1 ounce.